title of the presentation. So I have this page here so people know this is the right place. So yeah, we said we will start at 8 o'clock, but right now it's 8:02. Let's just wait maybe a couple more minutes and then we'll start. You know, last night, another parents reached out to me because her son right now is in college. So talk about like a summer intern for the college kid. And then she cannot believe, you know, it's already another season. Her son was, that was 2024. So now we're wrapping up 2025 and then already get started for the 2026. Yes, year after year. So yeah, when I start my presentation, I will definitely share. Okay, how about this? Is that good? All right. So I'm going to get started. Thank you everyone to join me. Yes, somebody probably wondering, you know, Teacher Pang hadn't gave like this kind of seminar for quite a while. Yes, a long time no see, have been busy with the student, working with the parents, do our best to achieve for everyone's the best result we can be possible for their college application. But I know this is like, you know, the important moment to wrap up the past year. And then also like timing wise, we think it's a good time to remind the juniors, get ready for their college application. Okay, so this is exactly reflect in my topic here, 2025 college application review, and also get started for the new season. Here is an outline of tonight's talk. So first is the review of 2025 application season. And then the second part will be for current juniors. So that's why I said in the WeChat group, if the kids available, I welcome them to be here because this is their college application, right? I want them to have the ownership for their future, for their application. So I will cover what to do now and then what to do over the summer and then get the application prepared. And also at the very end, I want to talk about a little bit for the younger kids and their parents, just based on my interaction with the student, my interaction with the parents, and also my observation over the years about what the college looking for, so how we prepare the kids, how we raise the kids in the way that will be helpful for them. Okay, So first is the 2025 application season. Before I start, I definitely want to express our gratitude to the student and their parents for the trust, support, and effort to work together for the best we can. Okay, so I know each student is different, each family is different, but I'm very proud to say that we were able to get the trust and then the support. So it's very nice to work with every single student, work with all the parents. So we are the best team to reach what we have for this season. So here is a summary about what we have. As you can see, the list of the college our student get into is getting longer, and that is across a broader range. So we do have the top school. So everyone's saying the T5, and then we have the Ivy School. We also have, like Northwestern, Johns Hopkins, CMU, computer science major. So all the top schools there. Public school, we have UC Berkeley, UCLA, Georgia Tech, UMich, and UT Austin. So all the top public school. As I see, as I said, we do have in the past, probably we did not have any student apply UNC, but this year we have the student apply UNC, and then we actually have 4 students who got into UNC. And then for other private school, we have Boston College, Boston University, Tufts, and also like Northeastern, RPI, the very strong engineer school, Case Western. Sorry, it's a duplicate there. And then we have one student, he also applied Canada School, and he got in University of Waterloo and then also University of Toronto in the computer engineer major. So I just want to emphasize that when we work on with every single student, we definitely customize their application. There is no streamline, there is no cookie cutter. We precisely position by evaluate the student's overall profile, their activities, their achievement, the level of their achievement, the type of achievement, their experience, and then their personality. Are they social person? Are they quiet person? And then their personal preference, right? Like for some students, they don't want to apply UC, and then they only want to focus on the East Coast. Some students, they prefer a smaller school than the bigger school. And also, we will work with the student to check their school record, the history of their school, get into a particular college. And then also for the kids of their same grade, if they have somebody similar to their profile, or competitive to them with different strengths, and then anyone with the legacy, all those. So we analyze that situation with the student to set up the target school, the target, the application strategy, like what we're going to apply first, and then are we going to do ED2, or we focus on the regular round, right? And also personality trait, values, personal traits, values, personality, along with their hard facts. Okay, so the application is not just whatever you put on your resume, not just your transcript, not just your standard test. It's what kind of person you are. How will you be able to become a valuable member when you go to the college in that community? During our ISA preparation, we make sure we have the holistic presentation via various essays. Okay. Also, when we work with the student, if the student join us early enough, we will work with them on their brag sheet. So that is also an important part I'm going to talk about for the current juniors. That is the material you are going to provide to your counselor, to the teacher who will write the recommendation letter for you. So we want to, put the information there so the teacher know this is the word you want them to include in their recommendation letter, because out of all the component in the application, the recommendation letter is out of our control, right? So when we have the opportunity to provide some input there, we should value that opportunity. Write down the information that you want the teacher to include in their recommendation letter. Of course, they may not exactly cut paste on what you provide there. But if you do not provide there, the chance for them to include those language will be very small. So that is like, when we work with the student, what we emphasize. So I'm going to give some case study here, but I'm going to protect the privacy of each student, but I promise they're all the real student. We work with them in the past. Some like earlier, some join us during the application season. So the first case is the student who got into Yale, and then it's a Chinese boy, and then his school is in a very competitive environment, very competitive state. So he is good in math and then computer science, but he's good means he has some AIME qualification with math, and then computer science, he shows some skill in the computer science, but he's definitely not the traditional strong Chinese boy who are good in math or computer science. But this kid has a great personality, very good communication skill, and then also he interested in econ. He has some activity related to econ. So that's why, when we decide the major for him, we actually chose the econ related major. So instead of purely STEM or purely computer science. So, and then we also, in the essay, we make sure it show his growth, and then, how he become a better person based on his own experience. So he was able to, get into Yale. He was deferred in the early round. So he REA Yale, but he did great job in his interview. I think, in his letter of continued interest, he was able to talk about the interaction with alumni. So it's very happy, he was able to get into Yale. So it's a very successful result based on, what he has, and then the school environment, how competitive his school environment is. The second case here is a Chinese girl, and then she applied MIT, and then she is you can say that she is that typical STEM competition kid. She's good in math, and then she also had achieved some level of in the physics competition. So when she joined us in sophomore year, she actually attended private school. So the private school doesn't offer much STEM resource at all. Even when she decided to apply MIT, her school counselor was very hesitate, because in her school there was no record anyone got into MIT without the sports recruitment. So his counselor at her school, they have no confidence at all. But when she joined us, she expressed clearly, MIT is her top school, and then want us to prepare her in the way as we think what MIT looking for. So what we were able to, find the right math coach, and then also the physics teacher to coach her for the math competition, and also F equal to MA. At the same time, we provide the guidance for her to apply the proper summer program, and then we decide when she received multiple offers for the summer program, which summer program is the best fit for her to support her application for MIT. As I said, when she came to us, MIT was her top choice. So, but while we were working with her, we realized, we noticed her personality. And then, so first, early round, we were able to successfully get her into MIT. And then in the regular round, she only applied Harvard and Stanford. She's a very generous kid. So she said, I'm not going to apply other schools. She actually withdrew all her EA schools. She withdrew right away after she got good news from MIT. So for the regular round, she only applied Harvard and Stanford. So we were able to, based on her personality and then her experience, to reflect the charming part, which what Harvard looking for and then Stanford looking for. So in the regular round, she was able to get the offer from both Harvard and Stanford. So she was a little surprised when she got the Harvard, but I feel like she does have that kind of trait, and then we were able to demonstrate that in the essays. So that was a very exciting result for her. The third case here is a Chinese boy. The major he applied is public health. The reason we chose public health is based on his activities. So he's interested in biology. So maybe he will pursue pre-med, but he's not 100% sure yet. So he's interested in science, and then at the same time, he's also part of the Model UN. In his school, they do not call it exactly Model UN, but it's a similar format. It's a type of public policy activities. So that's his two major activity. So we were able to combine those two and then, apply public health. So this is the ED student. And then when we decide the early round school, he was debating among other schools, but he went to visit Northwestern and then he liked it. And then he also, another part of his profile is he enjoy, he's an artistic student. So he enjoy drawing, has some art pieces. So he liked the program offered by Northwestern and also enjoyed the location of Chicago, giving all the museum and then the artistic resource there. So, and also, we check his school's record. The other two schools he was thinking to apply to, it seems like, they do not have a good record. While the Northwestern school, his school, not that many people applied before, but just giving the other school how competitive they are, we decide to go with Northwestern. So when we select the major, we were able to combine his academic strengths, both the science with the public policy. And then when we prepare the supplemental essay for the Northwestern, we were talking about his interest in arts, right? So he can fully utilize all the resources in the local area. So that makes his Y school essay particular strong. And then he start with us in the beginning of junior year, or in the middle, the fourth semester of his junior year. So I was able to work with him when he prepared the brag sheet and the student survey, right? So that part we were able to emphasize how responsible he is. So I want to point out here, he doesn't have that a lot of achievement. So even in the Model UN, he in the Model UN, you may have best delegate, all those kind of recognition. He was not, he did not receive any of that kind of recognition at all. But based on what he shared with me, I can tell he's a very responsible person, and then always take care the group project, do the final check and then make sure it will deliver in the best for the team, not just for himself, right? Never complain when other member did not do the work as they should, and then always take care of the team, take care of other people. So I think we were able to emphasize that in his brag sheet. And also typically people feel like a boy, they may not be that responsible, but he is the kid. Throughout the entire application season, he was the only one, reach out to me, work with me, communicate with me. His parents did not get involved at all. So just from this, I want everyone to realize that, sometimes when you evaluate your kids, it's not just based on their heart stats, not just based on their what's the achievement level they are. They definitely see the kids, like what kind of person they are, right? Will they be responsible? Can you count on them to do something? So I'm sure his behavior was reflect in the teacher's recommendation. So, and then of course in the ISA, we also try to cover those values he has as well. The fourth case, this kid, he came to us late on the application start. So, we will not be able to modify anything on what he already did, right? But we were able to thoroughly understand his activities. And then we realized that, he has a solid GPA again, but he doesn't have, he doesn't participate much, competition. He doesn't participate a lot, school activities. But what we can see is that, he is a thinker. So he has a strong opinion on what he wants to do. So he wants to do engineer. So, and then when we look at the ISA, we were able to modify his main ISA from a thinker in isolation to become a thinker who care about others, who want to connect with people, and who want to make a meaningful contribution where his problem-solving skill as an engineer, right? So we were able to modify his ISAs. So, and then he was able to get into Duke. So by saying that, it just that's something I want to also cover here on this slide, the lesson we learned, and then also the trend. So some of them you probably already hear. This year for some school like Yale, Brown, they receive a smaller amount of applicants compared to the previous year. And then the admission rate is relatively increased a little bit. That could be because more school now require the SAT, ACT. So now, for the current juniors, you need to say, what's your SAT, ACT score? Are they in the good range now? If not, I think you should, prepare, put extra time to get the SAT or ACT standard test score ready. So for some student, if your SAT score is not in the ideal range, probably you can consider not to provide unless some school require you to submit. The third bullet I put here is public school. I would say maybe 3 years ago for the top student, right? For the top STEM student, they can make to the T5 or Ivy school. Georgia Tech can be considered as a safety school, or Georgia Tech UIUC can be considered as a safety school. Not anymore, definitely not anymore, okay? I can tell you the student who got into who got into Yale did not get the offer from Georgia Tech, okay? And then the student who got into Johns Hopkins did not get the offer from UIUC. And then UMichigan, same situation. There are some students, I think they are definitely qualified, but UMichigan did not give the offer. So, and then UNC, let's talk about UNC, UNC has an early application deadline, which is October 15th. So student apply, so they have some offer as a safety, right? But I have student who they got into Columbia and Duke in the regular round, but actually got deferred by UNC at the beginning when they first released. So it's just like she was shocked, she was like, what happened, something wrong with my application. And then she was able to get the offer when UNC, the regular round came out. So this is just a trend, don't feel like, I'm good enough. So absolutely, I will get offer from Georgia Tech, from those public school, the good public school. No, they're no longer safety school anymore. And also from this year early round, we definitely notice more rejection than defer. So like before, the school will say, okay, you were deferred for the regular round. But this year we do see more students in the early round just get the rejection. I feel like, it's get the rejection, it's probably is not a bad thing, that makes you to just like move on. Okay, at this school, I will not spend time. I will not spend any energy to like write a love letter. I just move on, focus on other schools' application. But this is definitely a trend. The next one I want to talk about is the competition versus the research. Okay, as I point out in the 4 case study I had in the prior slides, they are not like, besides the girl who got into MIT and then Harvard, Stanford, she definitely has a lot of STEM competition achievement. But for other kids, they do not have that many competition award, competition recognition. And then, so also not just like the kids I have in the prior slides. If you think you check the result this year for MIT particularly, everyone know MIT care most on the hard facts, right? The achievement level. But I do see some like student, even for girls, like the math competition, they're in the AMO level. That's a very rare case, to be honest. If 3 years ago, you say a girl who can make to the AMO, GMO, probably for the entire New Jersey state, you would not see more than 3 kids. But now, I definitely see more students get to the GMO, AMO level. But at the same time, the impact to their college application is become less important. So I do see the student, they got into AMO, GMO, they did not get MIT offer. Okay, but at the same time, I see some students, they do not achieve that high level on the competition, but they have research, and then the research play more significant role in their college result. So this is something we definitely notice. And then the next part is interdisciplinary and then also application. So you don't want like just focus on one part. You want the kids to have the interdisciplinary interest, our knowledge, and then you were able to apply those knowledge to solve a real world problem. Right. You don't want to just tell people, oh, I just want to do the competition for the sake of competition, for the sake of award. You want to demonstrate that you want to learn those knowledge because that's out of your curiosity. You want to enrich your knowledge. Therefore, you have more capability to solve some real world problem. So I think that is the way what the college is looking for from the student. Okay. Another thing is the fit and the yield protection. So before the Ivy Day, I have a student, got waitlisted by the NYU. So of course, NYU is not like a top school, right? So get waitlisted by the NYU is definitely out of the expectation. But already from last year experience, I know NYU waitlist some student, especially when they feel like, you are not going to come. So they will put you on the waitlist. So they care about your fit with their school. When they give you the offer, what's the chance for you to come instead of just add another on your list, right? And also, like when we talk about fit, you need to think about what kind of person you are and then what the school looking for, right? Say, MIT and Stanford, they both the top school, right? And then, but what MIT looking for and what Stanford emphasize, they're not exactly the same. So that's why when you look at a student's profile, you will be able to get a sense that, okay, this student probably the chance to get Stanford probably higher than MIT, while some, student who got MIT may not be a favorite student for Stanford. So your fit to a particular school is very, very important. So you can say I'm good, but doesn't mean you will get offer from all the good schools. Okay, so just have a reasonable expectation. As my feeling is, if you are good, you will be able to reach, one or two school in that category, but probably will not be easy for you to get the offer from all the school in that top level. Another thing is I have to emphasize the application season extended to June. Why I'm saying that? Because there are more students, they are on the wait list. And then some school, they definitely move the wait list. Like last year, I know some students, they off the UCLA wait list. Some students, they off the Cornell wait list. So for some school, the waitlist definitely move, like U Chicago, Brown, they also move, and Duke, the waitlist move, for some school, the waitlist doesn't move. So by saying that is like, even now I'm still working with another student just on the letter of continued interest, try to off the waitlist. So that is, but some students, they wait until June and then they were able to receive good news. So that's why, like, for the seniors or for the student, after you submit your application, don't feel like, oh, finally I'm done. No, you still need to maintain your good record. So when we write the love letters, we have more to update the school to tell them you are a good fit for them and that you will be a great member to contribute in that community, and that you can successfully to get the opportunity when you to get into your dream school. Okay, so that is for like a summary of this application season. For the juniors, okay, yes, it's time for you now, and then for the parents of the is coming, right? Okay, so you still have time. You still have time to do something before the end of the school year. I'm sure probably some school you already meet with your school counselor, and then you talk about the list of college. You start to create that list. Okay, that list could change. So, but it start definitely to think about the list of college. And for some of the juniors, I'm working together. I already remind them during the spring break, they should go visit some college and then get a sense about, start to create that list of college. And then you need to think about who will be able to write your recommendation letter. So the letter from your counselor, that's standard. So your counselor will prepare that letter for you. But you also need to get a recommendation letter from 2 academic teachers. Some college may ask you just one letter from one teacher. But typically they want two letters from the teacher. You can also think about who will be able to provide the supplemental recommendation letter, like your coach, your research mentor, or your band director, or the supervisor at the community service you participate, right? So that's the supplemental recommendation letter. And then you need to treat this seriously, okay? This is the last bullet here. You need to have your resume. You need to start to working on a copy of your resume. You will update that resume over the application, since you may have more achievement, or you will include your summer activities into your resume, but it's time to start to build your resume. Some school, they will ask you to provide a copy of your resume along with your brag sheet. So, and then that's the student brag sheet, the parents brag sheet. So fully utilize that opportunity to write down the important part of you want the teacher to include in their recommendation letter. So that's very, very important. Don't treat that light, okay? And then during the summer, you can attend a camp, you can pursue an internship, you may have some employment. As I said, if your standard test score is not ideal yet, you can consider, the SAT or ACT before the application season. And then some students, they do visit college. So it's, again, to build your list of schools you would like to apply. So when you visit college, I just want to, take notes, okay? Because you will forget. So there's some, wherever the AO in the information section, when the AO highlight, you should take notes there. If you pay attention to what they said, you will be able to catch what they care about, what they emphasize. Even though they make you feel, oh, this all sounds similar. No, there's some difference there. So take notes. Everyone has a phone. So while you're listening, just take notes. And then it could be in any format, as long as that makes sense to you. Nothing like a fancy, but I feel like, it will be very helpful for you to prepare some material which you are interested, which make you to be interested with that school, okay? Don't just go there and then just walk around, and then you will forget, okay? Even they talk about the name of the building or the name of the cafe, put them down. Those information could be used in your supplemental essays, okay? And then, of course, during the summer, you definitely need to kick off your college application. We should do the best to finalize the college list and then the application orders. Are you going to do ED, EA? Will you consider ED2, or you just focus everything, you just put everything in the regular round, right? And of course, we will brainstorming the essays, and then we need to draft the common app essay during the summer. Do not wait when the school starts, okay? When the school starts, you have to take care of your senior year academic load. You have to continue to participate in your extracurricular activities. You will not have that much time, okay? So do as much as you can over the summer. And then I want to, there's some key concepts. I hope most of you already hear this. If it's a little bit redundant, I would just, you want to take a picture of this slide, that's fine. So remember, it's a private school, public school, that's two major categories, right? And then from the application, the timing of the application, they're early round, they're regular round, but remember, UC is only one round. So if you're going to apply UC Berkeley, UC LA, UC San Diego, those 8 UC schools, their deadline is December 1st. This year they pushed to December 2nd. They used to be a November 30th. So, but for UC, just one round application, okay? And for the the other school is like early round, our regular round. But there are different combinations. So their school like REA, their school like, ED. So what are you going to ED school, or you just go REA? What is the option you can do? That's something you need to think through. And also, because the public school, they're all EA schools. So you should, in the early round, you need to consider the public school you will apply. The deadline, most of them is November 1st, such as, Rutgers, Michigan, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Florida, University of Maryland, UIUC, they're all public schools, so they have the EA round application, which is November 1st. The only one I want to point out here is the University of North Carolina. Their deadline is October 15. Okay, so don't miss that one. That could be your first, that could be the first application you submit for this application season. And then I hope you understand the difference between EA and ED, right? EA is not bonding, ED is bonding, and then ED, they're the, ED1 and then ED2. But for UChicago, they also have ED0. I may have, okay, so this is the timeline. So the early round, most of them, it's November 1st, but UNC is sorry, I didn't change the date. It should be October 15, 25. And then UChicago, they have one round called ED0. That's a special application round for the student who ever attend their summer program. So it could be their online summer program or in-person summer program. Any summer program you attend from the freshman year to the summer before your application, that will make you eligible for the ED0 for the UChicago. Okay, so that is a special thing. UChicago just announced. They only put this in effect in this application. This is the first year UChicago using ED0, and they will continue. So if any of you ever went to the UChicago and then you want to do that ED0, but the thing is for UChicago, if again, it's ED, right? If you got in, you have to go. You are committed to UChicago. And then for the ED0, they do not have this defer. It just yes or no. So you either get in or you got rejected. So but the ED0 start as September 1st. They're supposed to they give you the result in 3 weeks. That's what UChicago tell the student. Okay, and then, so for one thing I want to point out, like for Rutgers, right? So because you need to self-report your grade. So, and then we are a special system. So for Rutgers, you better submit your application 3 days before the deadline. And then because until you submit your Rutgers application, you can upload your transcript. So they want your transcript upload before the deadline. So that's why some students, they didn't realize that they only submit the application by November 1st. And then they did not get enough time to submit their transcript. Therefore, their application was not considered as the early round. Their application was considered during the regular round. So they did not get their Rutgers result until later in spring instead of the beginning of spring. Okay, and then I already said that for UC is, it was November 30th, but the past season is December 1st. Okay, and then the regular round. The regular round is like the first week of January. Some school is January 1st, and then some school they can go all the way to January 6th. Okay. Michigan for their regular round, the deadline is February 1st. So you have a little bit time to finish Michigan if you apply the regular round there. Another thing is like, I have some students, they also interested to apply the school in UK, like Cambridge, Oxford, and some students may consider the Canada school. So you need to have an overall timeline about those schools' application. You don't want to miss any deadline. So I feel like it's really a serious work. Some students, they have a good management about the schedule. They lay out everything step by step, week by week. So that helps them to stay on top of their schedule. Another thing is regarding the application system. So Common App is the majority one, majority school use. The good news, I don't know, you hear that for Georgetown, they actually merged into Common App. So Georgetown used to have their own application. So now starting this season, they are going to merge to Common App. That's a good thing. But another thing is like, for Common App, they allow you apply up to 20 schools. So if Georgetown using Common App, you have to make sure those 20 schools you are going to apply via Common App. Okay, so I definitely see a lot of students, they actually fully utilize that 20 spot. So they apply 20 schools when they enter the regular round. Okay. In addition to apply UC, that's a separate application system. And then some students, they apply MIT. MIT has its own application system. Okay. So Common App, this is the majority of the school use. So this is just the interface of the Common App. Within the Common App, in my opinion, most important is the honors. So they say the 5 academic honors. So you will list them based on the level of recognition, international, national, state, or school regional. And some students, they were able to even they call academic honor, but some students, they definitely put like their sports achievement or their music achievement or some like a volunteer service award there. So we will discuss like which one is the most significant or the most representative about your profile to make sure you list those 5 there in the main part. If you have more, we will put in the additional information box, okay? And then regarding the testing, again, AP is self-report. You do not need to send your official AP report, but I highly recommend you to send the official SAT and ACT report. Even though somebody say, oh, you don't need to, but based on my experience, I want my student to send their official SAT, ACT score. Well, for the AP, you just put the self-report, that's fine. And then you are allowed to put down the AP exam you are going to take in the May of your senior years. So you can put those. And then you also report whatever you already got before the application season start. Okay, and then because it's self-report, if anything score 3 and less, do not report. Okay, only report the ones 4 and 5. Okay, that's for the Common App. Another part we spend a good amount of time with the student is the 10 activities. Okay, they cover a broader range on what you do. Okay, so could be the activity you do, could be the summer program, could be the club, could be the sports, our, like a music, our orchestra, our band, our marching band, all those activities, our community service. So we do spend a good amount of time to work with the students' activity to show, to make the statement very concise and then effective. So when AO read that description, they can get the significance right away instead of using some vague language, and then the AO will not be impressed. So that's very, very important for you to spend time to prepare your activity list. And everyone know that for the Common App, the Common App essay, right? That 650 word essay, there are 7 prompts you're allowed to pick. But this is, I feel like, this Common App essay is very, very challenging because you are not there just to expand your resume. No, it's to show what kind of person you are. So the internal part of you, which people cannot see just from your hard stats. Okay, so you need to have a nice story. You can have, some kids like this year have a student. He just demonstrate his like self-doubt. So he did not have that much self-confidence on himself. So, but he showed his vulnerability, but he also demonstrate over time how he, get over with that. And then by doing different activities to build his confidence. So that is like, that's his growth. So this is a very important essay. The requirement for the Common App, in my opinion, is quite different from the other supplemental essay and also different from what UC essays or MIT essays. For each school, for any school who use the Common App, most of them also require the supplemental essay. There are some schools they do not need supplemental essay, such as Northeastern, they don't need the supplemental essay. Case Western, they do not need the supplemental essay. As long as you finish your main part, you can submit your Northeastern or Case Western. But most of school, they do ask. And then they may ask you to, for Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and Stanford, they can ask you like 5 to 8 short answer or big essays, so it's a quite amount of work to prepare those schools essay. But if you put those essay in a certain category, that's what I have here. So you will have why school essay, why major essay, what is the community which you value most, the significant community you really appreciate for your high school year. And then do you have any leadership you want to talk about it? Do you ever have any challenge? And then what did you go through? And then how you tackle that? What you learn from that experience? So I think this, those 5, that's the main supplemental essays you will see from most of the schools, okay? And then some schools, they have that short answer, like that's typical, the Princeton, Yale, Stanford, they have those short answers. Either like 150 character or 50 words. So they're short answers, but they actually cover a lot. So it's fine when I read the students, the short answer. It's definitely show more about that person, show more about that student. So when you answer those short answers, make sure, to show your authenticity, the real person. You're not just like a study, right? So you have a hobby. There's something you can like, you just want to give a try and then you haven't done yet, you have some like a funny part about you. That is the place to talk about, to make you to be a real person, okay? And then for each school, they may allow you to submit additional recommendation letter. Some school may allow you to do 1, some school may allow you to do 3. So you need to, be clear on what they require. And like for Columbia, right? So when you submit the research supplemental, they ask you to summarize, to give a summary about your research project. And then they do not require you to get a recommendation letter from your research mentor. Well, for Yale, if you submit a research supplemental, you are required to provide a recommendation letter from your research mentor. Okay, so each school, they have their own requirement. You need to be ready. And then you don't want like, wow, oh, they need a letter from my research mentor. I even didn't ask my mentor yet. That would not be good, right? And then with regarding to the supplemental material, some school, they allow you to provide via the Slack room. So like your music supplemental, or your research supplemental, or some people, they also, upload some like a maker project, So again, get familiarize with what the school allow you to submit as part of your application and get every pieces ready. Okay, no surprise, no last minute rush. Okay. And then talk about the UC application. So again, this is a different system, and then they have 20 activities. They give you 20 spot. So that 20 spot you can include your award and the honor. So Common App, you have the 5 honors, that's where you can put here as well. And then you can put your 10 activities from the Common App here. So that means for the UC, you already have 15 items you can fill up here, but their requirement is a little bit different. So you need to be super careful on what they ask and then fill in the right information. Okay, again, we spend a lot of time with our students to get their UC activity ready. List ready. The good thing for UC, good or bad, UC does not require recommendation letter, and then UC does not require SAT or ACT. But UC you have to write 4 essays out of 8 prompts, and then 350 words for each of them. I think UC prompt, they're very, very helpful for you to start outline what you have in your profile. So as I highlight here, so the first one is the leadership. Do you have any leadership? The second one is your creativity. Is there any part you feel like you're very creative and then which is you're proud you can talk about? So it could be your, academic, or could be artistically. So you need to find that creative side of you. And then your greatest talent or skill. Okay. And then do you have any significant education opportunity or any significant education barrier you can talk about here? And number 5 is a significant challenge. So again, like even some school in their supplemental essay, you talk about challenge. And then number 6 is academic subject, right? So if you apply math, probably you should talk about math. If you apply biology, you should talk about biology, right? So that's the academic subject. And then again, this number 7 is what have you done to make your school or your community a better place? So this is a community essay. So I highly recommend for the student who want to apply the UC, you should take a look of UC essay prompt, brainstorm what you can talk about for each prompt. That will be very helpful for you to come up with the right content for other schools' supplemental essay. Okay. MIT application is different, its own system, and then MIT, it's their essay short. They only have 5 short essays. The shortest one is 100 word, the field of study at MIT, and then they have 1 essay is 150 word, 3 other essays 225. There's a major change the past season on the MIT application, which is the number 3 essay. So this time they ask you how you, your trailblazer story. So this is the major change compared to the previous year. I feel like this is a quite hard essay to write about, okay? And then, MIT, they ask you to separate your award, your academic award and then non-academic award. I remember, for the case number 2 student, we actually, she do have a lot of academic award, but she does not have that much non-academic award. At the beginning of the junior year, we were talking about like what MIT require. And then we say, okay, here's the possibility for you to get a non-academic award. So she was able to work on those and then fill out those parts. spot. So you need to be aware what they're looking for, and then make sure you will have material to fill out those spots. And then they have a summer program, right? So this one is, they actually gave 6 spots for the summer program in the MIT application. And MIT, the recommendation letter, they particularly ask you 1 from STEM teacher, 1 from your humanities teacher. So that's the same requirement for Caltech. While for other schools, they do not have this kind of requirement. You can, some students, they do get 2 letters from the from STEM teachers, okay? But MIT and Caltech, they require that. And then, MIT is the first one, since pandemic, is the first one to resume the requirement on the SAT and the ACT. So what I want to remind the juniors is, you need to have a reasonable decision expectation for yourself, and then have a clear strategy. So you cannot just say, oh, this is my dream school, so no matter what, I'm going to apply this school. So if that school is really, really a reach for you, I don't think that's a smart decision. Okay, so you can reach a little, you can reach in a reasonable distance, but if it's clear that it's impossible for you to reach that school, let it go. Okay, you still opportunity to go to that school for your graduate education, but for the undergraduate college application, you need to have a reasonable reach school. Okay, and then you need to think about evaluate yourself holistically, so to give a best presentation of yourself. And also you need to highlight your fit to a specific school, right? You need to do a good research so you can write a strong essay about why school, why major. When I work with the students, sometimes I said to them, I always tell them to do the research, give me a compelling facts to prepare this why school, why major essay. Some of them, they will do a great job. Some of them, they just give me something very generic. I know if I can paste that information to a different school, that's not good enough. I want something specific for that school, and then make your essay compelling. Okay, and then be organized. Time management is a very, very essential factor here for everyone. No matter how good you are, it's the kids they make to the T5, or the kids they're like average above. Time management is a big thing for everyone. Okay, and then another thing I want to remind everyone: stay calm, get the work done. No panic, no frustration. Sometimes things may not turn the way as you expected, but as long as you work it, it will come out in a positive way. You will come out with a promising result. Okay, stay calm, get the work done. Do not point finger, do not blame the parents, do not blame everyone else. Let's to be the owner, and then work with all the resource and the support you have to reach the best you can. Okay, that's for the juniors. And then I just have one slide for the 10th grade and younger kid. Okay, because I receive a lot of inquiry or the phone calls from the parents, right? So they may say, oh, I have a freshman, they do not know what they want to do yet. That's fine. They're a kid. They're just 14 or 15 years old. It's common for they do not know exactly what they want to do. That's fine. But I want to tell you, the student, you need to find your passion, find your path that are most suitable for you. Okay? Why I put the capital there? You. Because you are a unique individual. You have to have that kind of uniqueness, so the AO will remember you. You will be able to stand out from other kids, other good kids, other strong kids, right? So respect the kids, let them to explore and then find their own passion and path to make them to be that strong individual. I understand when the kids, when they were younger, you want them to explore different things, right? But I think when you reach certain time, the depth is way more important than the width. Okay, so they want to see your dedication to certain things. They want you to like a long-term engagement in certain things. I'm not just talking about academic pursuit, but also your community service, your sports engagement. So it's a depth instead of width. Okay, and also open-minded. You are allowed to make adjustment. You may say the freshman year, you feel like, oh, I think, I like math. Math is my favorite subject. But in the sophomore year, you feel like, you know what, math, I'm okay, but that's really not I'm that enthusiasm about. I think I like something else now. As long as you have a good reason for your change, that's okay. You cannot just say, you cannot just leave that subject in a escape way, right? So you can make an adjustment, you can have your own choice, but you have to have a good reasoning for that and then focus on that, okay? So another thing I want to emphasize, we are not just build the kids' resume, okay? We want them to develop the good soft skill, okay? The soft skill, their communication skill, their skill to work with different people, their skill to work as part of the team, so their skill to seek the help from the teacher, seek the help from the friends, and then that is very, very important. And also, if the student can do some writing, that's also important. I feel like, when we work on the student essays, the kids who have stronger writing capability, is easier for them to do a better job in the essay. Well, for the students they are weaker in their writing capability, it's always a struggle for them to organize their thought and then present in a very compelling way. Okay, so this soft skill is important. Okay, you need to have the opportunity to work with other people, not just your individual achievement. It's your contribution to your community, your impact with other people, and then what you learn from other people, right? See, for example, in UPenn, they have 3 supplemental essays. One essay is write a thank you note. You never get a chance to say thank you. What you learn from other people, why those people influence you, how those people change you to be a better person as you are today, right? So those things, and also some fun thing about the kids, right? So they should not just grades, test, exam, competition, right? Do they have some fun part, that they can share to make them to be a real person? As Harvard require and then Stanford require roommate essay. So what you want to share with your future roommate, so those person will love to be with you, would love to be for you to being around for the 4 years in campus. Right? If you only just study, you're not that interesting person. I don't think people would love to hang out with you for that many years, right? So as I summarize here, you need to have that skill, you need to have that vision, your impact to other people, what you can, your community service, and then your compassion, and then your impact. So we need to have the student to grow into a better person, not just a better grader. That's very, very important. Sometimes, they should have that kind of mindset to sacrifice for other people's goodness. Okay. All right. So just want to let you know about our team. I want to emphasize here, we have a small team here, but we are 100% focused with the student. So we have only 2 primary teacher and 1 of the primary teacher. So we personally guide and mentor the student. So you are not, different from other big company. The marketing people will give you all the data and then get you into it. Then you do not know which teacher your kids will work with. You do not know the experience or expertise of that teacher will be capable, highly capable to support your kids or not. That's not the case here. I'm one of the primary teacher, and then we both, we are very capable, and then we work with our student closely, and then we treat our student just like our own kid. Okay. We have that personal connection there, and then we both have a good record if regarding the college application result. Okay, and also we have the review community. So even though we two work separately for our own kid, but whenever we have something we want to talk about, we always discuss, like recently for some summer program, our student, they got multiple offer from various summer programs. So we actually discuss like which one we should go, why this one is better, giving this students, profile. So, and then for the essay part, we do have the native speaker teachers to review and edit essay. So I try to assign the student to the same native speaker teacher, so the native speaker teacher know the student and then have that consistency when they review. And so that is how we control the quality overall, the essay review part, and then polish the English part. Okay. All right. So this is just our service. We have like a planning service, but that's just for like a kids younger. If you are already a junior year, we don't want to do the planning. We just go direct. We will do a college application. So that will include some of the planning. Right now, we'll review the brag sheet, the student survey, the resume build up. And then we have very, very limited hourly service, very, very limited. So it's just if you feel like you want to get a sense of our service, maybe you can consider that part. But that is overall, that's all I want to cover. And so I don't know any of you. So this is thank you all for your attention. I hope this helpful. And so if you want to reach me, here is my phone number, and then the barcode is my WeChat ID. So you can definitely scan them and find me on the WeChat. I can definitely answer some question. See if there are probably some question in the chat box already. Is there any, like, Teacher Helen, any particular question or? Okay. There's some question in the chat box. I will go through them here. So first is regarding research project for students have no college university connection, most likely no reply from college after sending many email. However, is it rumor there highly selective school do not like the paid research project that students do with mentors, teachers outside high school? That is, that's a good question. The research, I definitely see a increased amount of students who get involved in research. Even like for this year, for the science fair, the organization community, they actually have to set up some like a screening, who will be able to invite to go to the demonstration. But previously, as long as you you apply, you will get in. So yes, more students, they're doing research. If you really want to reach to a top school, you may want to do some like a paid research, like in the earlier years of your high school career. So say you may do some paid research like sophomore year or freshman year, and then use that experience to apply the procedures summer program where you can continue to do the research. I think that probably a way to enhance the significance of your research experience. The second question, is it true that highly selective schools prefer SAT, ACT score after completing sophomore year instead of scores in? No, I don't feel that way. I feel like, with regarding to the SAT and the ACT score, I just want to emphasize that, because some people say, oh, the kids, the SAT is 1600, the perfect score, or 1580. I don't feel like SAT or ACT score will play such an important role in the college application decision. So that's just one factor. As long as your score in that category, you are good. Move on. Right? So if you got 1560, there's no need for you to get like a perfect score. No need. Is it better to take SAT in March, June, because SAT exam a harder score could be strange in for exam? There are some people saying that, I guess, but remember, you can do the super score, right? So if you do once in March and then do another one different time, you can always super score. So you make out a good score on math in March, and then your EWR score higher in another session. As long as your super score is above that threshold, you will be good. The number of students we work with in the 2025 season, we work with 17 students. 17 students. The question is, what are considered as academic award except for math, physics, or writing competition? Can you please give some example? Academic award, for example, when the student take the PSAT in junior year, and then if they exceed the cutoff, that would be semi-finalist. That can be considered academic award. And then even like for some students, when they do not have any other academic award, I remember for some of my students, we actually put down AP Scholar as the academic award. Yeah, I think that's also a good point. Sometimes your school award also be important to include in your application. For one of my students, actually, because he doesn't have any other level of score, other award, we actually include one of his school's department award. I think that, if I remember correctly, that was the award from the science department just for that year. We include in his application. Do college require interview a part of the application process? Yes, but it varies by school. So that's the alumni interview. And then Columbia or Cornell, they do not offer the alumni interview. So Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, and then Duke, UPenn, Dartmouth, Brown, I know Brown because right now they require you to do a recording, so you don't need to do a alumni interview anymore. So yes, some school they have the alumni interview. Okay, question here, how important it is to have all A's compared with other activities such as volunteer hours? Okay, first I want to clarify that those two, they are in different category. One is your academic profile, while volunteer hours is your community service. Ideally, you should be good on both of them. They're not exchangeable. They're not exchangeable. Okay. And how important is to get a high score in AP exams? Review a push AP test is taking so much time. So as I said, AP, if you score 4 and 5, you can report them. If you score 3 and lower, you are not going to report them. But for the AP, which already include on your transcript, right? For the student, they are taking A push as one of the score at school, it will show up on their transcript. If you do not report your A push score, the AO will be able to tell you did not score well. That's why you did not include that. So it happened to other students. They did not score very well. They end up not to, and then that did not impact them to get into the top school. But if you can score higher, that would be better. But I would not say that will be that critical factor. So do that as best as you can. Okay, that's my my comment on that. Is that true? UChicago admit 0 student in the regular round this year? I don't think so. UChicago definitely admit student in the regular round this year. Okay, A push is harder than AP English language. It depending on the student. I have some student, they feel like A push is harder, but some student, they feel like the language is harder. So, but both A push and the AP language, I think there are two major humanity APs. It's not easy, but if you can do well on both of them, that will have a good reflection on your humanity capability. Does it matter how many times you take the SAT? One thing I want to make that clear, in the application form, they only ask you your highest math score and then when you got it. And then next question, the highest EWR score when you get it. So you do not need to disclose all the SAT scores. So they will be able to, if you put different days for those two subjects, the AO will be able to tell that you took more than once, but they will not be able to tell you take 3 times or you take 4 times. No, they cannot figure that out. And then when you send the SAT score from the College Board, the official score, you are allowed to choose the test days. So you can just choose those 2 days, which contribute the high math and then which contribute the highest EWR. That will be okay. Could you please share some of the students' profile got into top school with your help? I think in my case study, I already share some of their information. As I said, for the case number 3 and case number 4, they do not have the regarding the competition, right? The Amy, they don't have that kind of award at all. I think one of the students, he has B in his freshman year. And then has A- in the sophomore year. So they are not like a straight A GPA. Math competition award is academic award. Yes, math competition is academic award. Does any other IB require recording in addition to Brown? I think Northwestern also, it's optional. You can make a recording and then submit. I think also Duke have that kind of like optional. With regard to depth versus width, as far as sports going, is it essential to play the entire 4 high school year out? Would it still worth mentioning if I only play sports for 2 years and devote my energies to some other meaningful? Depending, like, I don't, because when you play 2 years, I assume you're only part of the JV team, not the varsity team. So that activity probably will not be on the top list of your activity, probably will be your number 9 or number 10 on your activity list. And then if you have more significant activities, you may not include that in your 10 activities. That could be the case, but it will, for my student, I definitely gave like a special review for that, for all their activities, and then like move them around and, come up I think the most significant activities for them. Does Duke consider legacy from older sibling? I think, yes, Duke, they consider the sibling legacy. Is super score equally good as a regular score for SAT? I think the super score is good enough. Yep, super score is good enough. For a college that does not require one humanity, one STEM recommendation, should we prioritize well-roundedness, one letter from humanity, one from STEM of the teacher we think know us best? Okay, that's a very good question. When you require the recommendation letter, I think you need to, I like the way, like, the teacher know you the best. So they know you the best from as a student, as a person. Okay, they will not be able to talk about your performance in that class or within the classroom. They can talk about like your at outside classroom, like, did you ever have a conversation with him about the current issues? Do you have that kind of curiosity on what's going on surrounding? Or if that teacher also the supervisor for a club activities, you are be part of it. So that is, you need to make a decision about like who will be able to write the recommendation letter to show different part of you. And then if you feel like, the 2 teachers, and then they probably will be only talk about the same perspective about you, even though you are doing the best in those 2 classes, they may not, so their recommendation probably will overlap a lot. They may not be the best option as the recommendation letter. If you have a teacher where, you may not be the top scorer in that class, but you have a significant growth in that class, that teacher can also write a strong letter for you. Is AP Gov an important humanity course similar as APUSH? I don't feel like AP Gov is similar. Is the important wise, I definitely feel APUSH, because you see most of the school, right, from the social study requirement, they ask you to learn world history and then US history. So like AP Gov is actually not a core social study course for some school. So just from that, you get a sense that I think APUSH is definitely more significant than the AP Gov. With regarding to the ACT, I feel it should be 35 and above. So 35 and 36 will be good. If you score 35 on ACT, you don't have to take any more. But if you got ACT 34, that's also a good score to use. But if you can try one more time to see if you get a super score 35, that would be better. Okay, for girls very good at math and also good at debate, it's easier to get into MIT than in Harvard. I don't, it's hard for me to say that just based on this information provided there. I do not know when you say good at math, how good at that math. Like it's just Amy qualify, or you you make to the math prize for girls and get honorable mention in math prize for girls, or in addition competition math, you also attend the math camp, all those. I need to have that overall review and then probably give you some meaningful input, like which one you should apply. And also, if your school have a kid who has a legacy to Harvard, so you may want to apply MIT instead of Harvard, because Harvard does count legacy. Okay, that's another factor. What will happen if there is a B? How significant the impact would be? Okay. Yes, ideally you don't want to have a B, but when you have a B, it will not be end of the world. Okay, I do have students, they have a B in their junior year, but they were able to still make to the top 5. So it's really case by case. But in general, like for example, I think Princeton, they prefer the student with a straight A GPA. While even like Harvard, Stanford, they can take the student with B. People say MIT does not take the strong students who are good at debate humanity because they feel the student may choose Harvard eventually. I don't feel that way. To be honest, I don't feel that way. Actually, I feel like MIT, they provide a good resource for the humanity kid. They're strong. They even though their humanity program small, but the professor there, they are very dedicated and then provide a strong support for the student to pursue their interest in humanity. If a student does not have any sports activity, how would this affect her application to T5? It would not, you don't have to have a sports activity. Okay, last year I have that student, she got offer from all 5 top schools. So she doesn't have sports. Okay. And then this year, the student who got into MIT, Harvard, Stanford, she did sports in her freshman, sophomore year, and then she let it go and did not continue the sports. Okay. So follow up the above question about playing sport. The student play 1 year for freshman team, 1 year for varsity. I don't know, like when you play the varsity, did you play did you play as a starting player or you were just part of the team? I feel like, if you are a primary member of that team, probably you should not drop that sport. You should continue. I guess the reason for you to consider to leave that team, probably you are not a significant member in that varsity team. So that's why you are thinking to quit. I need to consider other factors here. Right now, I do have a current juniors, she plays sports 2 years, freshman, sophomore, and then she decided not to continue for some particular reason, which I think that was the right choice. If a student is a JV tennis captain, is it a significant activity? I would not make anything significant until I take a look. If it's a, even like you say, the varsity tennis captain, because for some school, the captain, any senior, they give you the captain title. So it's not selected. If that's the case, probably I would not say it's a significant leadership position. But for some school, for some sports team, you have to be selected by the member and then appointed by the coach. That is a significant leadership to recognize your contribution to the team, to recognize your capability within that team. Oh, good question. For foreign language requirement, is it fine if a ninth grader finish AP and doesn't take additional foreign language courses? I don't think that's a good idea. For the top school, they definitely prefer the student to have multiple year foreign language. I don't feel like that's a good way to go. Just 1 year foreign language. With regarding the SAT score, is 1570 good enough? Yes, 1570, you're done. Move on. Check. This one is done. Okay. Does Dartmouth consider sibling legacy? I believe so. I believe so. Continue on the AP Gov course question. If our school has a very tough teacher for AP Gov, will it be fun to take the course outside of the high school? For the AP Gov, so that means you are going to, for the social study, you are going to take another course offered by school, but you want to take the AP Gov outside of school, only do the AP exam to get the score. I guess that will be okay, but you need to have another social study course to in the place of where you are going to take AP Gov, right? I don't know, like when you take the course outside the high school, will that show up on your transcript? I know some students, they go outside to take, and then it still show up in your transcript. But for some students, they just self-study, and then they sign up the AP exam, only report the AP score on the application. So there are different ways. It's not that clear to me. Okay. Is marching band consider a sport? I think so. Is marching band consider a activity for sure? It would not be a purely sports, but I think for some school, it's definitely a significant activity. A girl who made into GMO, math prize for girls. Okay, I don't know the math prize for girls prize is just participate math prize for girls, or what's your score at the math prize for girls? Okay, so that is something. And then for the math camp, I do not know which camp she went, and then will she be able to get a strong recommendation letter from the math camp director or not? That's also another question, because I do have some students, they go to the top math camp, but when I ask them to get a recommendation letter from the director, they feel hesitate because they did not perform that strongly. So if that's the case, like people, if you do not know the detail, people will say, oh, they go to that camp, that's a top camp, how come they did not get into that school? Right, there is a reason there. So 3 years of foreign language will be okay. I think in the high school, if you have 3 years foreign language, will be okay. Okay, question, should a student stay in the school band for all 4 years to show consistency, even though he could use the band period for another subject or AP courses? That is also a tough question to answer. Like really depending on the school. For some school, their band is a very prestigious program. I definitely will recommend the student to stay 4 years there. But for some school, they're not that significant, not that prestigious. So that could be something to talk about and then make the decision. What SAT range is considered competitive for top 20 schools? I think, for the top 20, if you get 1530 will be okay. 1530 and above, I think will be okay. Is the school and the regional orchestra concert master a strong EC? I think that's a good thing. Like, if you can be if you make to the regional orchestra, that I would consider that's a good EC. Good question. Do college want to see 4 years of social study? I do have some STEM kid. They only had 3 years social study, and then they were able to make to the top school. So I would say 4 years social study are not necessary, but I do have some STEM students, they took a push in freshman, in junior year, and then they got super interested in the subject. Even though when I recommend, say you don't have to take social study in the senior year, they say, no, I love it. I want to take it. I love this teacher. This teacher will teach AP Gov in senior year. Therefore, I want to take. That's good. That would be good. For typical STEM student, would it be better include 2 years JV team on the activity list, or will be interpret that? Depends. So again, if you have 2 years JV team on the activity list, it would not definitely on the top of the top 5 of his activity list, maybe somewhere on the number 9, number 10-ish, depending how we want to present that student. From your experience, what's the most challenging part for an Asian man from a competitive public school where everyone has something accomplished to stand out? I think, personality. It's tough, okay? I feel like, for most of the Asia boy, they're just too focused on what they cares. The social skill and the people skill limited them. The next question, is it bad to take Chinese as a Chinese kid? I would not say it's bad. I do have some ABC. They took Chinese as their foreign language. In senior year, is it better to focus on more math research than math competition? I don't know what level of math competition you're talking about. If it's still like an AMY level, probably I would not spend that much time more on the math competition. I would definitely do more on the math research. For the foreign language, what about only 2 years foreign language that yeah, if you only have 2 years foreign language from your middle school and then from your freshman year, I normally I don't recommend that way. I had one student, she had 2 years foreign language, and then I asked her to continue in junior year, but somehow she just feel like, it's too much for her. She couldn't handle. So we decided to drop that in junior year. That did not impact her to get into the top 10 school. If a student is accepted to a top school summer camp, is it easier to get into that college by ED? No. No. I can give you an example. If you say, oh, my kids went to the UPenn summer camp, and then it will have a higher chance for my kids to get into UPenn by ED. No. There's no connection there. Unless you get into that MTSI, right? That is a very procedure summer camp, and then probably that will give you a push for you to get into UPenn. The other ones, no. For your student, was Latin considered language or advantage compared to? Okay, I do have students. They take Latin as a foreign language. I do not see like any like advantage or disadvantage, but some people they may say, like Harvard, they like to get the kids who take Latin as the foreign language. There's some like common there, but for the student who got into top school last year, one student learned Latin, and then I think one student learned Spanish, and then I think one learned French, another one also Spanish. So, and then this year is French, Spanish, I think Spanish, and then French. Yeah. So I don't think, actually no student this year, they take Latin. So, but last year I had one student. Does the top tier school keep record and value your campus visit or not? No, the top school, they don't care. Top school, they don't care. Of the girl who got into, she is very strong in the math press for girls. Do you have any tip how we can highlight our personality in our essay strongly? I think, there is, I work with a student with like a list of like a buzz term there. Like, they need to circle the 10 word which they feel like represent well. And then I ask them narrow down to 5. And then sometime I may ask them to narrow down to 3. So based on their choice of the word, which reflect their personality, and then we work from there. Some people, they feel like a curiosity. That's a number one thing about what kind of person they are. And then in the essay, we were able to use curiosity. Summer program, the pay to play ones, not RSISP, etc., worth the time, effort, money compared to other pursue like project research. Yeah, it's hard to say. For the younger kid, for the sophomore year student, right? You may want to pay some program to gain some experience, and that experience can be used to apply more procedure summer program in your junior year. That's the way I will answer that question. Does it apply to sports summer camp? I do not get the question. For pre-med track student, after taking Calc BC in junior year, can you take AP Stats, or is it better to take a linear or multi courses? I have to, if you ask me without the background of the student, I would say if the kids can handle the multi, I would recommend to take the multi. But if the student feel like, okay, I'm already, calculus BC is kind of hard for me. I try so much to maintain a good score on calculus BC. And then I want to spend more time on other part instead of like put so much effort in the math part. The math courses probably I will okay for the student to take AP Status instead of take multi. Some people say leadership is how do you think? I think, the leadership is not title. I need to make that super clear. Leadership is not just by title. Some students say, okay, I got to be the founder of something. Okay, I got to be the co-president. Otherwise, I'm not going to be part of that club. No. Leadership is not the position. Leadership is not the title. Leadership is the role you play in that activity within that club. Some students, they may not have the title, but we were still able to demonstrate their leadership. Yeah, very important. You do not want just for the sake of the title about the leadership. It's what you do, how you make a contribution, how you, dedicate the work, or how you work with other people for the goodness of the team, for the goodness of the club. I have some people, they're saying, okay, I'm not going to do anything until they give me the title. No, it will not happen in that way. You got to make a contribution and then get recognized to earn the title. You put the order in the wrong way. Among the students who got into top school, do they all have a lot of non-academic award? They don't have a lot of, no, like not that many non-academic award. Academic strength is more important than leadership. I would say, it's first, your GPA, you need to be in a decent shape. Okay. Some people will say, oh, my kids is the straight GPA, and then, it's the number one GPA. Therefore, my kids is better than other kids. I would not agree on that statement. I feel like a GPA, you need to be in certain threshold. As long as you are in that top pool, you are okay, right? So, and then the leadership, I think, is show which kind of person you are. Are you willing to spend the time for other people? Are you willing to sacrifice yourself for the community's need? That is the leadership. You cannot just say, oh, I'm very strong, but I'm very self-centered. I only care what I can achieve, what's the title I can earn. I don't care about other people. It's just I, me. That's not what the school looking for. If you train at top school summer camp, does that give advantage of sports? Selection by the school. Oh, that's that question for the sports part. That one is really varies. For some D1 sports, the coach will have the right to choose the student, but for some D3 coach, they will not at that position to make that call. They may just give you a support, but it's still the AO's decision to decide the student can get in or not. Okay. Okay, I have a question in Chinese. 带娃儿来美国1年，顺便申请大学，何时来比较推荐？还要参加大学的入学考试。呃我觉得你可能对美国的大学申请有很多东西还不够有一个全面的了解。从你问的这个问题的角度上，我就想说的是，美国这边的大学申请不是像国内的那个高考的形式，对吧？你只是来参加一个考试就 OK 了。美国大学的申请实际上是一个高中3年，就是在你大学申请季之前的3年的一个积累。所以的话，如果有可能，我是建议你要早点来，最好来9年级就开始来美国上高中，然后呢，把一步一步在大学申请中需要的东西都能够一步一步的建立起来。这个绝对不是短期的一个工作，是一个长期的一步一步的一个很有连贯性和一致性的一个工程，我可以这么说。Okay. Next question. Do research paper publication on IEEE or other recognizable science journal helpful to build top school application CV? I think it will be helpful. It will be helpful. Last year, the student who got into Princeton, he was not that strong on the competition, but he was very strong in the research. And then I think he has some kind of publication similar to what you mentioned here, IEEE. So research was a very strong part of his profile. When you say that the kid's GPA is in the top pool that is specific to the school the kid is in, right? Correct. Yes. Because each school, they calculate the GPA in a different way. So you got to be specific based on the school's record. Okay, so what's the GPA range considered as a top pool? 3.8 out of 4 above. Okay, so the one you gave me here is unweighted, but for the school where the weighted GPA will be calculated, I think the weighted GPA also very, very important. I have some students, their weighted GPA is 3.9, but their weighted GPA is not strong enough. I don't feel like they are that. I think last year there was one student, he came to me say, I have straight A's GPA. I weighted 4.0. But when I look at his transcript, I know he did not take that most challenging courses. So his weighted GPA was not that strong. So I told him, I say, if I can catch that right away, the AO will be able to catch that right away. Some non-academic award. Okay, non-academic award, like, if some student, they are part of like the orchestra, so they get into the regional orchestra, that is non-academic, that can be considered non-academic award. Okay, or some student, they do the community service, they get the presidential service award, that's a non-academic award. And some student, they participate the drawing, and then their art pieces get award, that's non-academic award. Some student, they do dance, and then they got a recognition at a dance show, that's also academic award. Example of the 5 honors you mentioned early in the common application. Oh, that 5 honors, that's a wide range. But honor class is not honor. Honor class is not honor. Okay? Okay, so question, if a student is capable of passing certain AP exam without taking the corresponding course, should they still enroll in those classes at school? It depends, okay. If you're already, like this year, I have a student, she is planning to take some AP exam outside of school, she's planning to take AP environmental science outside school. So if she score 5 in this year, I don't think she need to take AP environmental science as a course in the future years. She doesn't need to do that. I'm not sure, the question may not be that clear. I would not say which one is absolutely better than another. It's definitely, case by case, depending on the situation of particular student. When you say top 2 of GPA, do you mean rank 1 or rank 2? No. I mean the top tier of GPA. The top tier. Maybe like a 5 percentile. Or some school may say 1%. Like for 520 student, maybe the top 5 student, that's the 1% top student. Or some school may say top 5%. For weighted GPA, each school calculates in a different way. I have some school, their weighted GPA is in the 7 range. I have some school, their the weighted GPA is in the 4.7 to 5.2 range. So each school is different. The grade inflation become more common. Yeah, but when the college come up with their own grading system, they check the rigorousness of the course, right? If they say, okay, for the student you're taking, for the junior student, if you're allowed to take AP in English language, but you did not take that, you only take English 3, they know you are not taking the most rigorous course at your school. They can tell. AO, they are full of experience. They can tell right away. Okay, it's true. Some school, they do not calculate the weighted GPA, but in that case, your transcript will show the AO. The AO will get the transcript. Even like in the Common App application form, they ask you to list the courses, right? So they will get the name of the courses you are taking. They will be able to tell, are you taking the hardest courses or not? They will be able to pull out that information. For the non-academic award, even for the Common App for the 5 honors, even though they say academic, but I do see some students, they put some of their significant, like a sports award, our music award, our volunteer award under that 5 honors, giving the significance of that. Taking AP Physics C exam out of school is beneficial or not. School does not offer AP Physics C. If the student can score well in that exam, that's okay. But if you score 3 and lower, don't report. It will not help you. Do school compare students based on the general school they go to, or is based on majors and which school? Do you mean this question mean when you apply a particular college, do they evaluate the student by college or by major? Depending on the school. For like a Cornell, they have 7 college, right? So when you apply Cornell, you apply a particular college. And then when you apply different college, they require different essays. So yes, and then you will admit by a particular college at Cornell. It's not by Cornell as one university. So it varies by school. It's a tough question. For a Chinese boy to get into T5 school using math at primary strength, what level math competition does he need? This is really hard question. I know some boy, they got into T5, like the case one example I gave to you, but if you're using math as a primary strength, I need to learn more. It's not just math competition, it's what else he has in his math profile. What else he has. That's something I need to know. Is it okay not to take AP test in senior year? That's fine. That's fine. Actually, the student, she actually texted me saying, in my application, I said I will take an AP test in May. I don't think I'm going to take it. Will the college have issue with that? So we actually sent an email to the AO and then get their permission for not taking the AP test. Is it okay to take independent study in pure math instead of another AP courses if the kids is interested in math? Like, for the math, right? So the typical path is you finish calculus BC and then you take a multi-calculus. And then if you want to do an independent study, that will be okay. I feel like you need to finish the multi. If you can finish multi, that would be good. If your school offer multi, you should take a multi instead of do the independent study in pure math. Otherwise, you may not be fully ready to study the pure math. A student from our school attended Harvard 2 years ago. This year, a student got accepted by Harvard. Paul, what you said earlier, is that like, no, are they siblings? This legacy, I mean the sibling, like, if the older sister or brother in Harvard and then the younger brother, sister get in, that is the sibling legacy. It's not, if they're not like biologically related, that's not legacy. Is admitted into top summer camp like SSP, SUMAC, RSI guarantee top school. I'm not sure your definition for the top school. I do see for students who attend SSP, they probably get in, they did not get into T5, but I see them get into Duke, get into UChicago, get into Northwestern. I do some kids, they got into those. So attending those will be helpful for you. It would definitely, be helpful for your profile attending those summer camps. But there's no guarantee you will be able to get into the top school. I mean, I'm not sure the top school. What's your definition? Is Math Prize for Girls award is more valuable than GMO consider the cheating scandal? I totally agree. Yep. The in-person contest is definitely reflect the real situation. I totally agree with that. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have here. What time is? Oh, it's 2 hours already. Any other question? Let me see. There are different patterns you'll notice in private public school graduate in terms of how hard it is to get into top school. That is a very hard question to answer, to be honest, because I know some students, they graduate from the top private school. It's not a answer I can answer in a very general way. It's really vary by school. Do you think a local college counselor is better or not? I would say it's not a local, it's a responsible and a knowledge one. I think that will be great. because like even the case one kid, they live far away from us. Okay. And then the girl, she is not local either, but we work with them closely, seamlessly, without any issue. Because we, when we work with the student, we put effort to learn the student, learn their school, and then come up with the best for their development. But of course, the trust is very important. Choose whoever you feel comfortable. And then after you chose, just work with them wholeheartedly. That is, you don't want like find somebody and then question them and then change, so that will waste a lot of time. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Do you have any other question? If you have any